Hello, everyone. It's important that we honor, acknowledge, and respect that many of us are located on many traditional unceded territories of many Indigenous peoples of Canada. We are back again for another episode of VEG Networking Canada, where vegan plant-based companies connect and collaborate. Today is actually World Health Day, so it's perfect that our special guest is here. She is a registered holistic nutritionist and certified holistic cancer practitioner. She has a passion for evidence-based dietary interventions, and she's on a mission to share the power of preventative lifestyle medicine. VEG Networking Canada is pleased to introduce the founder of Back to Balance Nutrition, Hanna Rakowska. Welcome, Hanna.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that introduction. I'm happy to be here with you today on World Health Day. I know it's so funny that that landed today. I saw that this morning. I was like, this is great. It's meant to be.
It is. And so our first question for you is, can you tell us more about your personal vegan plant-based origin story?
Yeah, so my personal story, it's actually twofold. First, the first time I was introduced to a plant-based diet or plant-based eating pattern was when I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 20. And so that was kind of what propelled my dietary change first. And what happened was I did a chemotherapy, radiation, etc. I did all the conventional treatments when I had my diagnosis, but I also traveled to Peru. And that was it's a long story, but we decided to do integrative therapy for my cancer at the time because my mom had been reading a book about a doctor who had treated cancer patients in Peru with herbal medicine, who was an oncologist. And so we traveled to Peru, and that's where I learned all about the power of nutrition for treating cancer alongside conventional treatments like chemo and radiation. So they put me on a plant-based diet when I was there at a retreat center, at a medical retreat center. And I started to learn about, eating properly to fuel my body, to help combat cancer, to, just to feel better during chemo, during radiation. And so when I got back from Peru, I obviously continued this dietary pattern along with some herbal medicine that I was given, along with juicing and other kind of holistic remedies. And my tumor actually shrunk 50% before I even started chemotherapy. And so my oncologist was shocked, obviously. And I had CAT scans, PET scans to show that. And he just kind of said, whatever you're doing, like maybe don't tell me about it, but just keep doing what you're doing. And because that's kind of, the conventional medical world, right? And so that was my first time. And then once I was, cancer free, I think I felt a sense of freedom. And so I wanted to, kind of like live life again without any restrictions. And so I kind of wavered back and forth between plant-based eating and not. And what ended up happening was I actually was in dental hygiene school. I went into dental hygiene school right after my treatment was over. And as a practicing dental hygienist, I started to realize that I was talking about nutrition more and more with my patients than I was about dental hygiene and oral care. And, really talking about my experience in Peru, my experience with healing from cancer through nutrition. And then I had a patient who it was actually the day before Thanksgiving. And she just said to me, so what are you having for Thanksgiving? And I said, we're having turkey, I'm sure, and stuffing, etc. I think I was 23 at the time. And she said, you should really read a book called The Kind Diet by Alicia Silverstone. And I kind of looked at her and I said, what's that about? And she said, I think it's a book that you'd be interested in. And so I obviously I got the book, read the book. Eyes were opened to the other side, the whole other realm of plant-based nutrition, which is, of course, animal welfare, environmental aspects of it. And I have to say that book, along with other books that I started reading, like Skinny Bitch, which was also quite graphic in terms of the animal welfare aspect of plant-based eating, that kind of stage is what severely impacted me and it was like a black and white decision that I'll never participate in eating animals ever again after I learned about that aspect of plant-based eating. And I haven't since. So it's been over a decade. And that was kind of like the biggest turning point for me in my journey. And then I went into school for nutrition to help other people learn about plant-based eating and specifically people going through cancer and survivors wanting to prevent recurrence through nutrition.
What a powerful, powerful story and journey that you were on. And this whole conversation, VEG Networking Canada, is designed for entrepreneurs, and some of those right now in the world that we're living in might even be in Peru, as this will be shared out on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and different places. So that's really, really cool. That's such an amazing story, and there's lots in there to maybe unpack in a second conversation with you. But I'm sure that all leads itself to your entrepreneurial origin story, or maybe you were an entrepreneur before, but now you have your back to balance nutrition. So tell us more about that.
That is a great question. Yeah, there's so much to unpack. As with every life story, right? We have so much going on, and we're constantly evolving, constantly growing, and yeah, there's a lot there, of course. Yeah, my entrepreneurial story starts off with when I was actually going through chemotherapy, and I was told that I was going to lose my hair. I actually developed I started making hats with hair. And that led into a company that was called Hat Hair Designs. And so I started making hats with hair for women to be able to work out, like athletic caps with a ponytail. And so I had like a really small business at the time. So that's kind of my entrepreneurial, that was kind of like the spark. But then when I went through cancer and then dental hygiene and being very unhappy in dental hygiene and listening to my inner kind of that voice telling me, like, you have to do, this is like your purpose. Like, you have to talk about this. You have to teach people, educate people about the power of nutrition for combating these chronic illnesses, especially cancer. That really is what propelled me into realizing that I have to go back to school. I can't continue living this like very kind of, unhappy work life, and for lack of a better word. And I went back to nutrition school. And that's when I decided that I would just go full force and create a business that embodies who I am and my values. And I've never looked back. Yeah.
And here you are with Back to Balance Nutrition. So what are some trends in the lifestyle medicine industry, in the plant-based nutrition, in the cancer prevention? What are some trends that you've seen or are starting to see?
Oh, there are so many. It depends on where you look, right? On social media, for example, the trends in terms of nutrition and cancer, I feel like it's hard to answer this question because there are so many proponents of, for example, the keto diet for cancer, right? We see a lot of that on especially social media. Then there are the very evidence-based nutrition experts like Dr. Michael Greger, right? And Simon Hill and Dr. Dean Ornish, and even so many dietitians that are evidence-based, of course. And then that realm is all about, or veers more toward plant-based nutrition. So I would say that the trends now are divided into two, which is the ketogenic diet and then the plant-based nutrition route. But more and more, as we gain more and more research and more data accumulates, I think that from what I've been witnessing, plant-based nutrition is definitely where things are heading. And especially with the environmental impact of our diet, I think more and more people are starting to wake up to the benefits of plant-based nutrition, and not only for health reasons, but for like planetary health as well. So I feel like it's definitely veering towards more and more plant-based interventions. People are really starting to wake up. Yeah.
It almost sounds like there's not necessarily a trend, because we don't want it to go away, but there's a movement or a gravitation towards accepting evidence-based work. And that's very, very interesting. So With
That's right.
back to balanced nutrition, where is your brand going in the future?
Great question. My brand is, well, I've been doing consulting work since 2014 in my business, and I feel like it's really difficult to reach as many people as I want to reach through consultation work and, you know, various seminars here and there, of course, as well, and presentations. But where I want to take back to balanced nutrition is actually more digital programs and courses to be able to reach the most people possible, especially for prevention, because I feel like with cancer, especially, so many people are in the dark about how prevalent it really is, and the risk that we actually do have, which is, you know, the risk of being diagnosed with cancer in your lifetime in North America is nearly 1 in 2. And I don't feel like that's a statistic that most people know about. And the fact that, you know, dietary risk factors are responsible for 35 to 40% of all cancers. And, you know, more and more research is coming out about the impact of lifestyle factors, including diet. And I feel like that's something that I really want to spread the message about, and really use my voice and my training, because most people are just completely unaware of the risk. And when you do get a cancer diagnosis, it's like the treatment is not fun, and oftentimes the treatment is more severe than the disease itself. So I just feel like I really want to use digital courses, digital programs, to, you know, reach people internationally and help to spread the message of how much control we have over this disease through prevention.
All right, folks. Well, you heard it here first. For those like SaaS entrepreneurs or course creators that want to connect with Hanna, because if you're a SaaS person or a course creator who is passionate about, you know, anti-cancer and that whole entire movement, because to Hanna's point, 1 in 2, we've all been touched by it directly or very close to us. So there's a lot of work to be done to spread that information. So no right or wrong answer for our next question is, do you support any, and your business support any charities?
I support I support a vegan orphanage in Uganda called Lead Vegan Orphanage. That is like a cause that is close to my heart. I found them recently, and they embody everything that I value, which is, of course, human health and animal welfare. And so they actually are. It's an orphanage in Uganda, and they actually grow their own food, and they teach the children to grow their own food, and it's all plant-based, and they teach the children about, you know, the impact of their diet on their health as well as on the planet. And so I support them. Recently, that's my biggest one. And I mean, there's so many different organizations to support, even locally, right? Like the farm sanctuaries in the Lower Mainland as well. So those, what are Hearts on Noses is one, right? And the other one I'm blanking out right now. There's one more that I've been supporting and working with, but yeah.
No worries at all. And that's it sounds like what I think you said, the Lead Vegan Orphanage in Uganda, that type of community impact, even here, is remarkable. So yeah, again, no right or wrong answer. For those listening who are going to be special guests on VEG Networking Canada, never any right or wrong answers in our conversations. You already mentioned, Hanna, the Kind Diet and Skinny Bitch as 2 books. So next question for you is, what are some books, podcasts, or even apps on your phone that help you as an entrepreneur do what you do best, which is, you know, run a business and be a business owner?
Right. Those are great questions. Yeah. So I actually love, in terms of like business centered podcasts, I actually don't really follow very many business like focused podcasts. I like to listen to more like evidence-based nutrition podcasts currently, but of course it all overlaps as well. I like the Ritual podcast. I feel like that's a really all-encompassing podcast. He talks about a lot of, you know, global issues, including nutrition, including health. and social issues, social injustice issues as well. I love the Ritual podcast. For evidence-based nutrition, I love the Plant Proof podcast by Simon Hill. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. He's changing the name now to The Proof, I believe, though. Yeah. And the other nutrition source I love for evidence-based information is Dr. Greger's How Not to Die, like the nutritionfacts.org website, as well as the app on the phone that you can actually follow to make sure that you're hitting your daily targets of evidence-based foods and their serving sizes. But in terms of business podcasts, I really can't answer that fully because I just don't listen to very many at the moment.
No, that's incredible. And a lot of people don't know how important nutritionfacts.org is. And many folks who might know and love the website might not have known that there was that app associated with it too. And, you know, evidence-based is one thing, right? It's you don't even necessarily have to believe in it, right? That's the whole point. It's just you do the work, you do the things, and good results that, you know, exercise, nutrition, all those amazing things. So those are great recommendations. Thank you so much. So for your business and a leader within your community, what other companies or organizations do you look to for inspiration and that inspire you?
That's a wonderful question. There is a local entrepreneur that I'm sure you're both familiar with, Sunny Lenarduzzi. Sunny Lenarduzzi's YouTube course. I've actually taken her course. I look to her. So I guess that counts as it doesn't count as a podcast, but I do follow Sunny and I listen to her, and I have all her, her videos available. And so I feel like she's a huge inspiration for me personally since taking her YouTube course on developing digital courses for entrepreneurs. Other businesses that I gain inspiration from are Erin Ireland's To Live For. I think a lot of our plant-based community in the Lower Mainland follows Erin on Instagram, and she's constantly inspiring us with her amazing recipes and just the way that she connects with the community. And I think that's really important for running a business, especially when it's just so heart-centered and so driven through your own personal values, just to be able to get out there in the community. And so I look to Erin for that. And yeah, like literally every single business that was at the Planted Expo, I gain inspiration from. There's just, it's just endless, right? And then we have another expo coming up in June. So that'll be another opportunity for people to, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a part of the plant-based movement and you're looking for inspiration, I feel like that's a really great way and resource for us available here in Vancouver. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And a great resource all across Canada and even the US people who want to sort of come up and see what's happening in the Great White North as it relates to the plant-based movement. So it feels like we just started talking, but we're already sort of at our last conversation starter question for you, Hanna, which is, again, always prefaced by saying no right or wrong answers. It can be short-winded, long-winded, whatever floats your boat, so to speak. And that is a tough question, but what is some advice that you would give entrepreneurs or business owners anywhere along that entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, and it is a path. It's a journey. I would say, first of all, if you're going to start a business, make sure you're starting it because it's something that you embody. It's not because you're, trying to tap into the financial gain from a business, then you think it's a great opportunity because of that, for that very reason, especially when we're looking at plant-based, the plant-based movement, there's so much opportunity today because it's evolving so quickly. And there are so many companies that are popping up and doing incredible things. But if you're thinking of starting something, just make sure that it is something that is completely aligned with who you are. Number one, because it's going to be, you have to be able to say to yourself, okay, if I die tomorrow, am I going to be okay leaving this behind as my legacy, right? And so it has to be completely aligned with who you are. Number one, it has to bring you joy. It can't be a source of stress. Otherwise, it's not really aligned with your purpose, right? Your purpose needs to bring you joy. Also, I would say I listen to a lot of Brené Brown, her videos and her books. I love just the advice that she gives. And just recently I was listening to or watching one of her presentations, and it was about, people criticizing others who are doing something different or changing the world. And she said, if you're going to embark on starting something that will impact other people and you're willing to be in that arena, make sure you know that you're going to get your butt kicked, right? Like, make sure you know that you're going to fail time and time again, and that'll be your biggest teacher, and those will be your biggest growth opportunities as well. So I think that most people go into entrepreneurial ventures not very well prepared for that. The fact that you're going to fail, and that's actually a part of the process. Like, if you were perfect, it wouldn't be very much fun, and there wouldn't be any growth, right? So be prepared to fail. And if people criticize you, just make sure that you know how to handle that. And with that, like Brené Brown was saying, just drop negative comments, like ignore them completely, and don't take criticism from people who aren't willing to be in the same arena that you are. Like, if they're not in your field then why would you allow someone's negative comments to impact who you are and try to tear you down, right? So I think those are my biggest pieces of advice. Just follow your inner voice, follow your purpose, because it's there. Your intuition will always guide you, and be prepared for a long process, long journey along the way.
Sage advice, Hanna. Sage advice. You mentioned failure is growth, should be reframed as growth opportunities. You mentioned be your business, and earlier in the conversation, you kind of gave some advice, which you didn't give right there, but throughout the conversation you did, which was remove yourself from the business or figure out how to duplicate yourself, and be able to spread that information to more folks. So that's really, really
right. Yes.
Really
yes.
interesting. Really interesting advice. And so, is there anything that we've chatted about today that we forgot to talk about? Any announcements or anything that came up? The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Like you said, Justin, for entrepreneurs today, let's not, I didn't mention the digital aspect of things, but yeah, digital courses is definitely where it's at right now. We can, reach 4 billion people on the internet today, which is quite incredible. Things that are coming up currently in my world are the Planted Expo, which is happening in June in Vancouver. So currently I'm just finishing up a online program. It's called the 7-Day Anti-Cancer Diet Kickstart. That includes a meal plan and recipes for people wanting to kind of, jumpstart their health. And it is all fully plant-based. And so I'm just working on that, finishing up the final touches on that, and getting ready to, hopefully meet over 20,000 people at the expo. So that's coming down the pipeline, which is amazing. I can't wait.
That's absolutely amazing. Talk about a community of like-minded folks to really vibe off of. All right, well, everybody, you can find out more information about what Hanna is up to on the web, www.backtobalancenutrition.com, exactly how it sounds, backtobalancenutrition.com, and the same on Instagram at backtobalancenutrition, just how it sounds. Let's not forget, folks, the conversation today, although very warm and lighthearted and fuzzy, there's a lot of stigma around cancer, and it is an important conversation to have. And so do take a minute to slow down and listen to this and check out the resources that Hanna mentioned and the knowledge that she dropped, because it is very, very, very important to all of us. So everybody, we will catch you on another episode of VEG Networking Canada next time. Hanna, thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Justin.